So I just recently watched the 2018 film The Meg, starring Jason Statham and a giant CGI shark. But believe it or not, there was actually a real shark that big at one point on the planet, which many believe died out 2 million years ago, and some believe only died out 10,000 years ago. So just how plausible is the plotline for The Meg? This is all things creepy, let's begin. So the general theme of the movie is that the Megalodon has lived all this time, we just haven't been able to see it because it's been deep in the Marianas Trench. Not only that, but it's also blocked off from the surface water by a gas layer, which supposedly provides a very cold barrier, and since the shark doesn't like cold temperatures, they don't pass through it. The Megalodon that we know from scientific study would definitely not have been a deep sea creature. It may have dived fairly deep, but for the most part it would have been near the surface where its most common prey was. Gigantic whales, as whales obviously need air to breathe. So basically the Megalodon from the fossil record simply wouldn't survive in deeper water, especially not deep in the Marianas Trench, which is one of the deepest points on the planet, if not the deepest. In the movie, a team of scientists breach this gas layer, obviously for scientific purposes, to try and study the wildlife under there, and of course they get stuck, they get attacked by Megalodon, and it's the rescue team that comes down and saves them, and by pulling the large submarine out of this gas layer they leave a brief window, and because there's a brief gap in the gas layer, these gigantic sharks are allowed to pass through. I believe 2 of them make it through in the movie, and then they start eating people, eating boats, just causing trouble. One obvious flaw here is this shark would be going from an incredibly high pressure deep water environment suddenly to a surface level environment attacking boats, which would be highly stressful on its body. There are a few sea animals that have specially adapted to survive this pressure change, such as the sperm whale, which obviously needs to breathe air and then dives very deep to get its prey, which is giant squid. But bear in mind, this shark, it's implied that it's adapted to this deep water environment for 2 million years. It's not designed to regularly go up and down the water column, it's designed to stay in the deep, so much so that it physically couldn't get to the surface level because that gas layer was stopping it. Obviously the Megalodon that we see in the movie is pretty true to the Megalodon in scientific history. However, in order to live that deep, it would have taken on some pretty interesting changes. Instead of that classic grey-white colour palette, it would probably be pink. Here's an example of 2 fish of the same species, one quickly adapting to a deep water cave setting. Since there's no light, most deep water organisms lose any melanin from their skin. Melanin's main purpose is to block sunburn, provide camouflage, all of which are not necessary at all when there's no light. See the goblin shark for instance, which is quite pink. The food in the deeper ocean is also pretty scarce. There are virtually no plants growing down there, so all the food needs to be provided from stuff dying and floating down from the surface water. And I guess this would happen every now and then, however, Megalodon would have had to drastically change its metabolism. It would probably move a lot slower and it would store a lot more fat rather than muscle. It's also quite likely that it would downsize a bit, probably starting to look more like a very successful deep water shark, the Greenland shark. So basically, the premise in the movie is possible. There could be some variation of Megalodon still alive deep in the Marianas Trench, and it could be cut off from the rest of the ocean by some kind of deep water gas or liquid layer, but it would probably look more like this than this. In my opinion, a sharp version of this is kinda creepier than the classic great white shape anyway. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Which would you be more scared of? Like the video if you did, share it with a friend, and of course if you haven't already, subscribe for more creepy content.